Welcome to Wednesday Web Chat. This is Carl Lewis, your host from Vision 33. And today's topic is going to be a little discussion on the feature set that's been released and announced for version 10.0 of SAP Business One. And we'll try to keep this short and to the point because in the weeks ahead, we'll go into many of these in detail and kind of show them much more in context as far as we can. And may even have a couple of guest presenters along the way, just depending on how things go. And that schedule might get interrupted. I'm sure it'll get interrupted with some other folks doing some other topics that we're in the middle of showing a series of. And but we'll always come back to what's new over the next several weeks, even a couple of months' time. It'll take to accomplish that with our typical every other week schedule for Wednesday Web Chat. So what's new in version 10.0? Well, today we're just going to take a look at kind of each one of the call them modules, if you will, of Business One that are implicated in version 10 upgrades and additions, and look at the list that SAP has released. Some of them I'll be able to add commentary to, and others I might not. But here we'll begin with administration. So for those of you that are concerned about the UK and the move from the UK out of the European Union and to be just UK, there will be a new localization just for the UK that is apart from the EU. So there's a lot of details about that, but I just put this one bullet point in here so that you'll know that's there. And in order to get it, of course, means you're going to have to move to this new localization, which is only available in version 10. There is a Business One Office 365 integration so that you can now use the SAP Business One Microsoft OneDrive for Word or Excel files. You can view them online, and you can even design your own templates. So there's a bit of an integration with Office 365 available as of version 10. And in the approval process, something that's continually been under modification over the years, you can now enable the authorizers to be able to update a document draft that has been put in pending status. So this is kind of nice, so that you don't have to sort of recreate the whole process, but you can edit it in process, which you never could before. So this is a really nice addition for those of you that make good use of approvals. For printing preferences, you can now print and mail service calls and service contracts, and you can export them to PDF immediately after they've been created. So again, extending the printing capabilities of SAP Business One in some areas that it was lacking. And under authorizations, you can now define different access rights to different tabs in the item master data and business partner master data windows for your users or user groups. So for years, people have wanted to keep everyone away from the terms code, for instance. And now you can, because it's on a separate tab than other things, right? And so that'll give you much more flexibility under authorizations. Some additional things in the posting periods window, you're now able to sort the data in any column using either the mouse or the keyboard or the sort table window. You're able to search for data in the first sorted column using the find field, and you can automatically set the due date to the date of the new posting period to the last day of the selected month of the next fiscal year. So more flexibility in posting periods, which will make things easier, and you won't have to remember to do these things manually. Display of the username is a nice change. The username field is added to the following tabs: administration, license, license administration, and the allocation tab, and the assignment tab. It's also added to the administration add-ons, add-on administration user preferences, and you have the ability of sorting by user code or last name. So again, just these little bitty things of convenience that for administrators in particular will make administrating the application across your network easier. And especially for those of you that have more than about 10 users, these functions are really helpful. You can now hide the toolbar to increase your working area if needed, right? So ribbon at the top, you can hide that and bring it up as you want to. Just gives you more space on the screen. Um, Change user or switch company. Well, now the username and the company name are moved to the top center of the Business One screen. So they're not sort of hidden and you got to go search for them. They're kind of always right there. So if you need to open another database or change the username, you can simply click on that at the top of the screen and it automatically takes you to those windows and their controls in the system. Some additional things about administration: screen displays. This is actually quite a large list, and so there's just been a lot of places in SAP Business One where the screen that comes up in front of you, the dialog box, the size of it cannot be changed. And so you can see how many of them now they've made it possible for you to change the size and the shape, rectangular shape, to the shape size you want. So you can read through them there, things like general settings, posting periods, company details, printing preferences. Some of the biggest ones are things like general ledger, right? That's been a complaint for a very, very long time. Payment means, all kinds of stuff like that will just make it much easier on folks that are doing those tasks to see things easier and to have more information visible on the screen. You won't have to scroll as much as in previous versions. So all of these, and that, I don't know, that looks like about 25 or so in that list. Should have numbered them. So that could be quite nice. I know that some of you are kind of perusing that list right now for your particular screen that drives you crazy. So those are big administrative things that have been modified. Under sales, purchasing and service, document printing, right? So in the document printing menu selection, you can use selection criteria window. They've added a number of frequently used fields for you to filter documents by. So form settings is now enabled in the document printing window, so you can choose to show additional fields for various documents. And these are the documents they're talking about in particular, so that when you look up these settings and things that you're looking for, or searching for sales documents, for instance, you can add other key fields to the grid that shows up on the screen, which of course can be sorted and can be filtered and all kinds of things. So again, just functionality to make it easier to use the application than it was previously. And you can print and mail multiple service calls or service contracts at one time. So lots of little additions that are helpful, and these are all related to sales, purchasing, and service functionality throughout the system. And in an AP invoice, you can edit the due date field in the AR invoice and the AP invoice window after the invoice is partially reconciled. So the new due date must be on or after the latest reconciliation date. So you can move it forward basically, but not backwards. And the backorder report now displays all AR reserve invoices that are not fully delivered or not fully credited, regardless of their payment status. So many people don't use the AR reserve invoice, but if you do, this is a nice new addition for your backorder report to be absolutely complete. Under financial management, journal entry remarks. You can now enter up to 254 characters in the remarks field of journal entries and journal remarks fields of various documents. So that's always been a much shorter. I think it was down to like 20 characters or something, just a little bitty jot of a note. Well, now you can actually put real remarks in there, and that's helpful. So any place where there's a journal entry remark possible has been changed to 254 characters, which is quite a lot for a note. With financial reports, there are new financial reports in the system that have been there for a version or so, but they've actually added the link arrows, the golden arrow, appearing before the names of accounts or business partners to the balance sheet, trial balance, profit and loss statement, the balance sheet comparison, trial balance comparison, profit and loss comparison, and the balance sheet budget report. All of those will have this capability to actually utilize the gold arrows to drill to those documents or those business partners directly from the report. So those can actually be quite helpful as well as you're looking for something that doesn't make sense to you in those reports, or you just want to know the details. Under project management, the largest thing is an interactive Gantt chart. So they've improved the interactive Gantt charts, and they're available to more easily make updates and work with project management. For instance, you can make changes directly in the Gantt charts to update project details. You can move Gantt chart time bars of sub-project and the project stages to update project timelines for planning purposes. And the Gantt charts are basically now dynamic project planning tools rather than sort of static overviews. So they're much more functional than they were previously. Under inventory and distribution, with item master data, you can change the unit of measure group of an item if the new unit of measure group includes the set of conversion rules of the original unit of measure group. So as long as it's set up, right, you can change the unit of measure much more conveniently. The item master data, in the item master data window, when you update the description for an item, which is connected to a bill of materials, the product description in the bill of materials window can now be updated as well. So you don't have to do it twice. Serial number and batch management, you can update serial numbers and batches for AR reserve invoices and inventory transfer requests, right? So those things were not in the list of things you could update previously. And you can display the destination warehouse code and name through form settings for this batch management function also. So you can make more things visible when you're trying to manage them. The group name enhancement. You can now enter up to 100 characters in the following fields: the item group name in item groups, and the group name fields of related windows. The link arrow. You can navigate now from a bill of materials parent item in any window directly to the item master data window instead of the bill of materials window. Right? So this just kind of cuts a step out in the process, so you don't have to click twice, but just once to get where you want to go. Under business partners, address formats, you can now hide empty address lines while setting up address formats. This provides you a more concise address in documents and printouts and no blank lines. The group name enhancements, you can now enter, just as you could with the item group name, with the business partner group name, you can now enter up to 100 characters in the group name fields. And so some of you were challenged to create abbreviations for your business partner and item group names. You can block updating the address ID in business partner master data. So previously, if a business partner has defined a bill to or ship to address, you can edit the address ID field in the SAP Business One client or update this field through the DI API. Now there's a new checkbox which will allow to update the address ID, kind of if you want to or not. If you want to freeze those addresses, you can, so that nobody other than authorized individuals can touch them. Some topics that kind of cross everything in the application. We call them cross-module topics, right? So in the attachments tab, and this is a big deal, right? For years, there's been requests to enhance the ability to put attachments in other places. The number one place that I always knew about was a journal entry, right? To be able to put attachments. There was no attachments tab on that particular screen. So now you can add attachments to inventory counting, production orders, deposits, incoming payments, outgoing payments, inventory posting, inventory opening balance, checks for payments, timesheets, and journal entries. So a nice sort of, finally it took you long enough, but we're glad you did it, type of enhancement to the application. A reference document. You can specify the reference document for the following types of documents and create reference links to other documents from them. So I have much more flexibility in sort of referencing parent and child documents throughout the application with things like goods issue, goods receipt, inventory transfer requests, inventory transfer purchase requests, checks for payment, recurring postings, And automatic references can also be created in a number of scenarios. Um, and you can see the number of reference documents of a document from the indicator next to that reference document button. So you're not just limited to one, you can have multiples. And when you click the arrow, you get a little dialog box which lists them all for you to choose and select from. This is a big announcement, and this is one of the, I mentioned why we asked you to go slow when it comes to upgrading into a new family, is because typically there are always at least one and maybe multiple significant new changes that are going to greatly impact not just how the application runs, but call it the whole the IT stack that you use in SAP Business One. And this one is huge because starting in version 10, SAP Business One will only support the 64-bit Windows operating system. Many of you have used 32-bit operating system in your Windows environments for years. That's going to require you to make some changes. And the biggest thing, that I would say is it has a big implication for add-ons in particular. So many of the add-ons, even one of SAP's add-ons, Crystal Reports, right? The little add-on that for Crystal Reports is only compatible in a 32-bit version. Now, they're going to create a 32-bit version of that, rename it, right? And it'll be called the DI API Legacy Package, right? And so it'll be there. But I don't know yet whether that DI API Legacy Package is going to actually extend to add-on 32-bit products. So we're going to need time to kind of check all that out. But it's entirely possible that things like shipping add-ons and credit card add-ons and many others that hundreds and thousands of SAP Business One customers use, they're going to need to implement the 64-bit version. And this doesn't mean that you get to upgrade it. In this situation, you're going to have to uninstall the old add-on that's 32-bit and reinstall the 64-bit add-on. Right? So it's a bit of a process and will complicate the upgrade and may cause some problems because of integrations and other uniquenesses in every environment. So this is something to be cautious about. And when you do make an upgrade to a new family like this, it's a great opportunity to think about putting in a new environment, servers. This is one of the reasons that cloud is so great, because you can just kind of spin one up pretty easily and put in all the new 64-bit stuff, make sure it's all working, and then migrate your data over to that system. Or just move your database and upgrade it at that point. I shouldn't say migrate. So it gives you an opportunity to be sure that that new 64-bit only environment is working well as a part of this upgrade. So if you decide to do this at some point in the future, be sure that that issue is top of mind. So that's really all I wanted to go through today, was just kind of this list that has been released. It's the what's new document that's contained in the software when you get it, and it's SAP's official thing. Now there are other features like the new web client, right, that is there, and we'll be talking more about that in the weeks ahead, and we'll give you some much more deeper look-sees into that as well, and anything else that we discover. But the list of features that have been released by SAP is what we went through today. All of that will be on our whole series of what's new in SAP Business One version 10. And I hope you'll join me in the next several weeks, over the next couple of months, maybe 3, as we look deeper into some of those issues and the benefits they'll bring to SAP Business One users. Thanks for joining me on Wednesday Web Chat, and we'll see you again soon.